Good morning, children. Good morning, children. So, did you read that story, Birth? Beautiful story by A.J. Cronin. Yes, I have already told you what is the story about. I'm sure you read it. Did you? Very good. So, we'll continue with the same lesson since we did not complete it the other day. Okay, so let's begin. Susan said not to give her the chloroform. Do you know, children, in major operations, why is chloroform given? So that when the patient undergoes that operation, the major operation, be it of any sort, okay, the patient does not feel that immense pain. So chloroform is given, then what happens? Immediately the patient loses his consciousness. This is important so that he does not feel the immense pain if it would harm the baby. So what was her thought? She was thinking, if chloroform is given to me, that will harm my baby. So she was not willing. Okay, she's awful set upon this child. She badly wanted this child. Dr. Batch, her old eyes warmed at a sudden thought. She added in a low tone, "Eh, we all are, I fancy." He collected himself with an effort, with great difficulty, that means. "It won't do any harm. The anesthetic," he said kindly, "they'll all be all right." That means, of course, her being scared is not, she's quite right in that, because an overdose of anesthesia may be very, very harmful and dangerous both to the mother and to the baby. Here, the nurse's voice was sorry, heard calling from the top landing. Andrew glanced at the clock, which now showed 3:30. He rose and went up to the bedroom. He perceived that he might now begin his work. An hour elapsed. 1 hour passed. Okay, it was a long, harsh struggle. It was indeed a very harsh struggle. Then, as the first streaks of dawn straight past, that means early morning is called dawn. So it is now early morning. The child was born, but it was a stillborn baby. Oh my God, early in the morning, child was born, lifeless, without any life in it. It's as good as dead. Yes, as he gazed at the still form, a shiver of horror passed over Andrew. Oh my God, Andrew was full of horror and he started shivering. He was wondering now what is going to happen. Oh God, after all that he had promised, his face heated with his own exertions, chilled suddenly, it became cold. Yeah, he hesitated, torn between his desire to attempt to resuscitate the child. What is the meaning of resuscitate? Bring it back to life, and his obligation towards the mother. He had promised the mother, yes, that I am going to do whatever is required and it is going to be a successful one, was herself in a desperate state. The mother, Joe Morgan's mother, is in a very desperate state, very much worried. The dilemma was so urgent, he did not solve it consciously. Blindly, instinctively, he gave the child to the nurse and turned his attention to Susan Morgan. The mother of the baby is Susan Morgan, who now lay collapsed, almost pulseless. Her condition is also very serious and not yet out of ether, that anesthesia upon her side. His haste means hurry, was desperate, a frantic race against her ebbing strength. Strength is ebbing means decreasing and decreasing and decreasing. It took him only an instant to smash a glass ampule and inject the medicine. So, some medicine Joe Morgan injects. Then he flung down the hypodermic syringe and worked unsparingly to restore the flaccid woman. Why was the woman said to be flaccid? Energy level was absolutely zero, pulse was zero. After a few minutes of feverish effort, hard he tried. Her heart strengthened. He saw that he might safely leave her. He swung round in his shirt sleeves, his hair sticking out to his damp brow. He's sweating, perhaps due to fear also. Where's the child? The midwife made a frightened gesture. She had placed it beneath the bed, thinking that the child is dead. In a flash, Andrew knelt down, fishing amongst the sodden, the wet, dirty, wet newspapers below the bed. He pulled out the child. Oh my God, what did the midwife do? She dumped the child, thinking that the child was dead. A boy perfectly formed, the limp, very thin, warm body. Still, that means there are chances of the survival of the baby. Was white and as soft as tallow. The cord hastily slashed, it was removed, cut, lay like a broken stem. The skin was of a lovely texture, smooth and tender. All babies have tender skin, yes. The head lolled on the thin neck. The limbs seemed boneless, as if there are no bones at all. Yes. Still kneeling, Andrew stared at the child with a haggard frown. He's very much worried, he's full of frown. The whiteness meant not only one thing, asphyxia pallida. Asphyxia pallida, that means asphyxia means suffocation, and his mind unnaturally tense. Obviously, because he's worried whether the child will survive, whether he'll be successful in that or not, raced back to a case he once had seen in the Samaritan to the treatment that had been used. Instantly, he was on his feet. He thought, now something I have to do. I must do something to revive the child. Get me hot water and cold water, he threw out to the nurse, and basins too. Quick, quick. But doctor, she faltered, her eyes on the pallid body of the child. Why she's telling doctor that, oh, the child doesn't have any life. Why are you going to try? Quick, he shouted. Snatching a blanket, he laid the child upon it and began the special method of respiration. Now is his test. And whether he will pass in this test, let's see. The basins arrived, the ewer, the big iron kettle frantically splashed hot water, cold water. In one basin, cold water, in the other, mixed it, and all that hot water, cold water. Then, like some crazy juggler, he hurried the child between the two, hot water, cold water. Once he would plunge in hot, the next time in cold. Again hot, cold, like that. 15 minutes passed. Sweat was now running into Andrew's eyes. Mrs. Why is he sweating? Do you know, children? Because he's so full of fear. Scared, dead scared. One of his sleeves hung down, dripping. His breath came pantingly. What is panting? When you run very fast, what do you do? That is called panting. But no breath came from the lax body of the child. Lax, the loose body of the child. Why is the body lax? Because it has got no life. A desperate sense of defeat pressed on him, a ragging hopelessness. Yes, he felt the midwife watching him in stark, what is that? Hopelessness. Yes. Consternation while they pressed back against wall where she had all the time remained, her hand pressed to her throat, uttering no sound. She's also tense, her eyes burning upon him. Was the old woman. He remembered her longing for a grandchild. Obviously, all grandmothers love to have a grandchild. As great as had been her daughter's longing for his child, all dashed away now, futile, beyond remedy. The floor was now a draggled mess. Must be clothes, water, this, that, syringe, and all that. That is why it was a mess. Stumbling over a sopping towel. Sopping? What is sopping? Wet towel. Yes. Andrew almost dropped the child, which was now wet and slippery in his hands like a strange white fish. For mercy's sake, Doctor whimpered, the midwife. Stillborn. Andrew did not heed to her. He did not listen to her. Beaten, despairing, having labored in vain for half an hour, he still persisted in one last effort. He said, okay, one last time, I'll try. rubbing the child with a rough towel, crushing and releasing the little chest with both his hands, trying to get breath into that limp body, trying his level best. Okay, children. So that's all for this session. Thank you. Goodbye. Again, the same assignment here also.